Second plane separation of from the S2 stage, could you feel that when it dropped away? No sensation.
Only reason I knew we had second plane separation was the light.
Light.
Power jet was not a big deal.
Yeah.
It just went clink.
And the light, of course, opened up.
the windows
a
open.
big rush like we have simulated in the DCBS.
Relative to separation sensations, could you actually determine when you separated from the S4B IU?
Could you ever? When we separated from the S4B, we had our EMS set up to display so we could put 0, so we could put 0.5 feet per second delta V in it. And the pyro charge was such that it knocked the delta V meter to 100.4 feet per second.
So you don't need an internal indication to tell you the separation.
You don't need an internal
It's
indication.
like laying on a big metal plate and then somebody whacking with a sledgehammer, buddy.
Did you note the cue ball reading anytime while you...
So what?
Cue ball.
Cue ball was very small. It never got up. It never even approached. Here I'm probably not being as precise as I should have, because I wasn't monitoring the exact limits. For exact reading, I was monitoring it for the 100% limit.
Yeah.
But it never. I would venture to say it never got above 30%.
What it should have.
It just went a little bit and back down.
Hey Frank, on this EMS one, did you go from essentially 0 to 104 feet per second instantly?
Yeah.
It jumped
Just
over
an instant.
all counters?
Yeah.
Just went.
Yeah.
It didn't.
No, it just went. And as I told you later on in the flight, when I throw that switch from standby to auto, it would jump 20 to 30 feet per second, just if I pushed it fast. Yeah.
Jump.
Did you try to eyeball the S2 tank pressure measurement in the millimeters up there?
I don't understand what you mean. Did we watch them?
Tank pressure. Yeah, did you try to get a reading off of it to correlate with the ground?
No.
Tank pressure.
You mean S4B or S2?
Either one of them.
Evidently, Wally was really concerned about that. The only thing that I really paid any attention to at all was the delta P.
Well, there was a mission objective, and that's like to qualify those.
That's why he was interested in it. And he gave me the data, and it was very close to what the ground had.
I noticed in orbit that Bill commented about he could see when we were dumping propellants, the plumes, that was out of the main engine one.
Yeah.
Is that what
You could see it out of the non-propulsive. It came on the big disc with non-propulsive.
Not out of the engine. I never saw it out of the main engine. Did you see it out of the main engine?
Was that the main engine? I thought that there was a trail a mile or two behind it.
That's after you started the slingshot.
Yeah, at the slingshot.
I couldn't see that.
It was on my side of the
On your
picture,
side.
and it was very clearly defined bell shape, what I would estimate to be the shape of the nozzle.
But any time it vented, you could see all of them.
A non-propulsive and propulsive head.
The non-propulsive was the one that we saw first while that was sitting there.
Came on the big disc.
It's like a snowstorm up there.
And but that S4B just sat there just like it was anchored in concrete when all that venting went on. It didn't do a damn thing.
Bill, I believe you made the comment that it actually moved, though, during the time the propulsive dump was taking place.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about the
Yeah, I
non-propulsive.
realize that.
Well, moved laterally, and I thought as it got way a good ways off, it was really moving out upwards. I thought I could detect slight attitude changes.
Well, it did have some small attitude changes.
Well, slight, I mean 20 degrees. But maybe it was a reflection.
We saw it. We saw the booster S4B for quite a few hours afterwards. See it tumbling. I couldn't see the S4B. I could see the light reflected off as it twinkled when it tumbled.
I suppose you could estimate how long after this propulsive dump you began to see indications of
We
tumbling.
watched it. I don't think we saw the end of the propulsive dump. We just we go into our PTC attitude and watch it maybe for 10 minutes just to make sure we were well clear and took a few pictures of it.
Could you feel the changes in acceleration right at orbit insertion when we went from the continuous vent and dropped out those Gemini engines? Could you feel those slight changes?
We couldn't feel hardly any of the S4B sequential system for the second burn either.
You couldn't?
Just beautifully quiet, just like you're riding in a subway or something, and then just go.
The one aspect that I was a little concerned about in the whole launch phase was not the initial Earth orbital insertion part, but the second S4B burn and the attitude excursions, since we were supposed to be monitoring that, and that went along just as programmed, just like the curves indicated. And so again, we have no complaints.
Thank you. I guess that's
Frank,
most
you have any
anything.
general comment on the complexity of the tasks that the crew was given for work contingencies and the
Oh,
adequacy
it's
of
fine.
training? for
Very
those?
good. We're adequately trained, well simulated, and the whole works, I think, is adequate. It's not only adequate, but good.
How about
I like
the-
that auto abort feature in the early phases.
Oh, thank you. How about this SPS abort routine that got a little more complex just before launch because of the toggle switch?
Because of the what?
I thought the toggle switch problem, CMSM7.
That's all right. I like the way we did the CMSM stuff too. Long run, it turned out we never had to arm our pyro buses when we did this. We just had them on the sequential. I think we did it all right.
Did you have any difficulty de-arming the auto abort? Did y'all follow the repress and everything right before the restart of the S4B? Everything there?
You indicated, I believe, in the report that during, I guess, the S1C portion, the vehicle was very responsive to engine gimbal. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on this?
Just, I think the reason we noticed that perhaps more during that, we wouldn't want to leave with the impression that it was overly responsive, but see, during the S1C you're under more G's, so you tend to notice these side corrections more. It wasn't any. The steering didn't seem to me to be any more responsive than any of the other steering. Did you think?
I thought it was positive steering.
Very positive, but it always was. Remember in the Titan when we sat up there and that mother moved back?
Yeah, but I mean,
No different.
it was different than the S2 and the S4B stage.
Yes, but
Because we
basically like the type.
Yeah.
Okay.
Backing up to that dB noise level you get during the S1C early burn, in your estimation, you think you could hear CW coming through better than you could voice for board? Any feel, any of you CW operators?
I don't have much faith in that CW business. I think, I don't know what you'd send through CW.
SOS or something Way all boats.
You talk about the hand ringers. One of the last things we got was a report from somebody over here that wanted to, in the last 2 days, wanted us to learn the Morse code. And somebody else at the Cape wanted us to put our last thoughts on tape in case we didn't get back. Those are we didn't do either one.
That's probably what got us home.
Everything positive.
Hey, listen, I don't want you all to feel like the Lone Rangers, because I think every system group we have is going to hear the same words. It's just, geez, thanks a lot. I don't know. I wish we could find something great to talk about, but...
Okay, very good. We have anything further on the launch vehicle? You boys are all happy?
Maybe we can debrief you after you come back from the ticker tape parade.
I did notice there were a lot of frost on the vehicle before launch. That didn't look too good.
Mark, you have time to plot some of the disky stuff. You now put in the capability for manual guidance. You feel quite confident that there's no time on that?
Oh, I'm sure you could fly it. I've always felt that that's a bunch of nonsense, but if you want to go ahead and play games with the booster, we'll go ahead and play games with it, because I think that in the long run we'll end up with that guidance system on the S5 is, I don't have any qualms about it. As I said before, I don't have any hesitancy about the hardware, and that thing just perfect. And I think that a pilot can very easily steer the S2 and the S4B into orbit.
How about TLI? Same thing.
We'll do the same thing with TLI, because we found out that TLI, MPAD will tell you got plus or minus 45-degree abort limit.
Well, does anybody else from Marshall got anything to say?
I'd like to ask Frank one more question. It really, I guess it really deals with 505, but I need your experience from 503 to satisfy it. On that time-based 6 sequence where we arranged that light display, would it have made any difference to you? And I guess you'll have to answer this from your simulation experience as opposed to your flight experience. Would it have made any difference if those lights had been keyed right next to, within milliseconds of the function occurring, or do you prefer it? Prefer some time delta between the light coming on or going off? I like it just the way it was. Well, that's the way I preferred it too. Unfortunately, the vehicle 505 is configured not that way. We changed the 503 to get it that way before you flew. So we'd kind of like to make 505 the
I don't
same.
have any experience what 505 is like, but I know Jim and Bill and I felt that this was very good the way it was. The light came on, we alerted us, and then the event, we started all our sequence when the light went out. Which is a good thing to do.
Because of the variable of the light going on at time stage 6, we decided to use the light going off.
Right.
But we still had the time on board of when we should expect that light to come on, which we had down.
Sounds like you're loving it. On that first evasive maneuver,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to have the justification to change it.
When you reoriented yourself back to the maneuver, you couldn't see the Earth in the S4B.
No, we couldn't see the S4B when we made the burn.
Okay, when you made your first evasive maneuver, did you have the Earth in the background?
Sure, we saw I was looking at the Earth when we burned. We were supposed to burn radially outward from the Earth.
At that point, you couldn't see the S4B.
Couldn't see the S4B, and I had 2 nervous friends with me.
You had a few nervous
I
friends on
was
the
getting
ground
it
too.
from both ears. And I was nervous too. I don't like to make burns in the vicinity of a big booster and not be able to see it. That's why I think what we need to do is just particularly when you got a limb on there, Carl, you just go to a certain gimbal angle off the launch rest mat, and then don't even worry about seeing anything.
You won't be able to see anything.
Yeah, just go to gimbal angle and throw it.